I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Committee of the Whole at 6:30 and to remind everyone to turn their microphones on because we have people attending via Zoom. And the first order is a roll call.
Michael Murray.
Here.
Travis Schulze.
Here.
Richard Yerington.
Present.
Sean Zabinski. Here. John Glenn.
Here.
Nicole Hart. Can you hear us, Nicole? You're muted.
Yes, sorry, it kept popping away.
Okay.
Here.
Lamont Kiefer.
Here.
Nellie Pater.
Here.
Dean Peterson.
Here.
And thank you. And the next item is the first report is the Treasurer's report. Oh, approval of meeting of the minutes of May 15th, 2023.
Move to approve. Second.
First from Mike, second from Travis. All those in, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Oh, opposed? Good. Next item is the Treasurer's report.
Good evening. So I've included the April 30th, 2023 revenue and expenditures with comparison to budget. No real highlights there. We've just concluded our May 31st tax collection, so that'll be on next month's report. The other big income item we're waiting on is obviously shared revenue, which will come in September. Otherwise, most things are going right along as expected. You can see most departments are right around that 30% mark of budget to actual. And we've completed, as of this report date, 33% of the year. So I would entertain any questions on that. Otherwise, we'll move to cash and investments.
Some of the line items that I noticed that seem to be excessively higher than budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
One in particular is utilities, gasoline, natural gas.
Yep.
It's quite a bit higher, almost running close to 200% by the end of the year, if not higher.
It doesn't track month over month because in the winter is when we see our highest volume of
We've got the
gas
second
bills.
half of the winter to come yet.
Right, but we usually pay that December bill in January, so we may have one large bill yet, but for most of the year it'll be pretty minimal. So yeah, that won't track the 30% as the year goes on. Front heavy.
Are there any other line items that strike you as being a little bit high?
I didn't see any that really popped out that I wasn't able to explain. Obviously, some of our expenses and some of the line items are seasonal, and so those are running higher, but I didn't find any that were unexpected.
I seen one line item that was 194% on retirement, which kind of shocked me. I think that was in water or garbage and refuse.
And that could be a classification issue. We'll look at that, but again, some of those, like Public Works, they've got several different codes, and so sometimes the wages don't fall exactly where we had budgeted them, but it would be then lighter in the other, maybe went to recycling instead of garbage, so we would expect that garbage then is lighter if recycling is over. So we can adjust that if needed, but it could just be that they worked in a different area more than we anticipated. But overall, the budget's still tracking.
The thing that surprised me was that it was retirement.
Again, they're probably coding their time wrong, or the retirement is coded wrong. And again, as a department, it'll all even out for the Public Works Department. Any other questions? Then I submit the May 31st, 2023 cash and investments report for approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike and a second from, and it's, any objections? All right. Any conversation? That's pretty fast. Okay, Richard.
We've got a lot of CDs in here with maturity dates of 2026, 27, and 28
Yep.
with returns of less than 1% or right around 1%.
Yep.
What kind of penalty would we take if we cashed any of these in early and reissued them?
Our investment advisors are always looking at that, cost versus reward, and so when they find that it's worth our while to do that, they'll advise us to do such.
I was kind of curious of what the penalties are for early withdrawal on some of them.
Yeah,
because
we'd get hit, doing like the 2026 maturity. If we did that 3 years early, that would cost us. So again, they're always weighing the risk reward and would come to us with
I know when
suggestions.
the banks on CDs around here that I've taken out,
Yep.
if you early withdrawal, there's usually not 3 months interest penalty. If we only lose 3 months or 4 months interest, it's well worth our time to invest in.
Yep, if it's worth it, like again, if there's a cost benefit, we would certainly entertain that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, then just a little from the department. As I mentioned, we just wrapped the May 31st collection. Settlements were sent to the county, the school district, and Western Technical. Those were due to them by the 20th, and we sent them last week. I'm working with Quarles and Brady and Ellers to work on all of our disclosures for our upcoming bond issuance. We have our Moody's rating call on June 27th. So we're preparing for that as well. Annual TID reports are due July 1st. I got those filed last week, so we are compliant there. I'll be out the week of July 17th for my final year of the UWGB Treasurers Institute. That was a condition of my employment that I complete the 3-year program, and I will be completing my final year this year. And then mass transit, we did receive our vans. I don't know if you've seen them around town. They're big white vans, black lettering. We're waiting for approval from the DOT to get them on the roads. That should be coming soon because they are short on vehicles. Had a few accidents. So. And then just briefly, I don't want to touch on it too much because it hasn't been signed by the governor yet, but they did pass the increased shared revenue bill. So we're looking at an increase for next year of around 20%, which the last calculation I saw put us at around a $300,000 increase. We'd also receive an additional $10,000 to $15,000 on some of the transportation aids that we get. So it's good news overall. There had been some amendments and then they took the amendments away, but they did pass the House and the Senate with the amendment for 20%. So we're pretty excited about that. Again, I can do more highlights next month after hopefully it's been passed for final approval. So other than that, I would entertain any questions. Okay, thank you.
When are we gonna have the audit review?
So I have a preliminary that we're using for our bonding. They had told me that I would have a final by the end of this month. So we'll see. If I have it by the end of the month, I would invite them to present at the July meeting. But again, it's all kind of in their hands. So they're getting sick of my whining, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Molly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Molly.
Next item, the clerk monthly report.
Good evening, everyone. So just a couple of dates. We don't have elections right now. We don't until February, but we are still doing a lot of elections work behind the scenes. We're doing four-year maintenance. Postcards were just mailed out, I believe, yesterday, or today, actually. Tomorrow. I don't think there's mail today. I think they're going out tomorrow. So what happens is anybody who hasn't voted in 4 years receives a postcard in the mail that goes to their address. And if that postcard gets returned to sender because they don't live there anymore, they're not allowed to forward election mail. Instead of going back to the Wisconsin Election Commission, it comes to us. So we'll get a big stack of cards, and then what happens is we deactivate those voters. And so if they only vote every 4 years, they may have to re-register. in November. So we're working on that. Just a couple other things. They did vote on a new envelope design, so all of our current envelopes for absentee ballots are no longer able to be used, so we will be throwing them away. Luckily, we timed it really well and don't have a ton that we're gonna throw away. But we will be getting a grant awarded, about $1,000 to pay for new ones, so that's kind of nice. That won't have to come out of our budget since we are required to purchase new ones. The alcohol, tobacco machines licensing should be finalized tomorrow night. The last of them have been through all of the application process, and will be on tomorrow and tonight's meetings for all alcohol licenses in the city. And then board review is scheduled tomorrow, so just a reminder to those of you who are on the board review. And at this point, I have not received any objections to real estate value at this point, and they're required to submit that within 48 hours of the meeting in order to have it seen, unless they have due cause for not making that 48 hours. So at this point, I have not heard anything. And I also will be out the same week that Molly is out. It'll be my second year for the Clerks and Treasurers Institute, and so I'll be out that week. It's all online, but I will be taking that out of the office. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next item, Parks and Recreation. Joe.
Good evening.
Joe.
We'll start with the Parks Department. Been busy with maintenance on our buildings, equipment. Had to fix a few mowers, park cleanup, and also just busy with our rental season. Winnebago Park update. We're inching away. Hopefully the bathrooms will be open this weekend for the new project. The striping should be done this week, I was told. And we're just waiting on the shade structure and a few other things for the plaza. Once the shade structure's up, our parks crew will be putting in the music instruments that Rotary donated. We have those in storage. So hopefully we're inching away with that. Special thanks to the Public Works Department and their crew, just wonderful this summer with helping us out. The path at Winnebago Park has been completed, and also they did repair on Fireman's Park path that has been washed out over the many years of flooding and high water there that many community members on that side of town were very appreciated. So thank you for Kirk and Mr. Cubey and his crew for all their help with our paving and park projects to start of the summer. Recreation programs were full swing. We had T-ball here for a few weeks. We started games this morning. Tennis, we're supporting the kids running club this summer, and adult softball, and different things throughout the parks. We also lined the fields for the youth baseball and softball clubs in town throughout the summer. You see in your package just a little bit of summary of potential use of the fire station EMS. We talked about the Parks and Rec Commission, just the potential of finding a location for indoor recreational rental type space that's doesn't get bumped all the time at Recreation Park. And so that's just in your packet. I'll be bringing back a more formal proposal in the future, but just take a look at that. If you have questions about ideas we have with the Park Commission or community members, feel free to contact me and just take a look. That's what we're looking at. We just need more space for our community users for leisure and recreational programs that don't want a quite a big enough facility at Rec Park or so forth. With that, we assisted with the Community Kindness Classic, the third annual that was formerly the Jesse Parker Racer that was take place this past Saturday at the high school and on our trail. Great turnout. It continues to grow once it switched to that. So great fundraiser not only for our rec programs, but for many different charitable organizations in our community. So thank you for that group to continue that, and we enjoy supporting that event. Aquatic Center, we're full go with that. We started swim lessons today. The pool opened on June 12th. Our normal programming started today in our hours. We did have, unfortunate, every year seems something when a pool sits vacant for so long in winter, and we're not the only community, as you see throughout Wisconsin. pools are meant to be run 365 days a year with the pumps and motors and so forth. So when we are to fire up our pool hall, is some issues. We did have a leak the first weekend. We sustained it. We have it isolated, so we're operating at pretty normal water usage right now. So we'll, get through another summer, put some Band-Aids on it, and evaluate, see where we're at as we move through. But what a great, asset for our community. If you've been down there today, packed, and kids and families enjoying it. So great staff this summer. We're plenty staffed, so we should have a good summer with the staffing at the pool as well. Finishing up recreation programs, you see the activities there. And the big one is, if you've been out there, they're already pulling into town, the big rig. So we got our big tractor pull this weekend, and followed by that from other events, and then get ready for the fair. So busy time here at that park as well. So a lot of maintenance and cleanup. Any questions or concerns? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Ready, John?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right. To start with the street department, probably see a lot of chip sealing activities out in more of the west side of town here. They will be starting the fog sealing. That's a final application to that process tomorrow morning, bright and early, 7 o'clock. They were sweeping up the excess chips over the last few days. And so we'll see that operation probably the next day or two, and then they'll be complete. If you do get a chance, drive down McLean from Council to Williams Street. We did a different application for us. It's microsurfacing. We feel it turned out very well. Just another one of those tools in the toolbox to use. A little bit more expensive. Pretty much double the cost of chip sealing, but there are some nuances with it that help us to lower those costs also. We don't have to go in and crack seal prior to that with our staff and material costs, so there's some trade-offs, and we're going to let this one go for probably 1, 2, maybe even 3 years before we make a decision if we want to use that in other areas. So it's just kind of a trial process for us. We do expect some failures in that street. It was a candidate that was kind of on that fence, whether it would work for the entire length. They did like a first coat in a couple of areas where the blacktop was really bad. So we kind of know where those areas are, and we're going to watch it, see how it works out. Seeing a lot of painting going on through town. Pretty much another week and we'll have the white done, then they switch over to yellow. So you'll see those operations ongoing. It has been a little bit more challenging this year with the amount of traffic that we're seeing from the constructions that's going around town. So we are taking a little bit harder look at our safety protocols and flagging for those operations. As Joe mentioned, we've done quite a bit of blacktop repair. We've laid down about 150 tons so far, and we'll try to continue to keep going with that. Right now we're going to go to May Street, south of Jackson, and kind of hang out there for the next few days. It seems to be like it would be a good, safe area, get away from all the pullers coming in and traffic. And kind of work on that. We have curb, gutter, sidewalk to put into that area. It was assessed quite a number of years ago, kind of fell and was put on the shelf, fell off our radar. So we're getting back to that to get that done and get some good improvements in that area. Excuse me. You'll also see around town by the doggy daycare center, we did some repairs to the sidewalk. We did quite extensive repairs up by the South Quick Trip and the Mexican restaurant. And we do intend to change that angle parking and go back to the traditional perpendicular to the curb. We haven't necessarily seen a ton of accidents with history up there, but just from all the people that we talk to, we get a lot of close calls that aren't necessarily tracked. So they would end up losing 3 parking stalls, but with the amount of traffic that's in the Quick Trip now and how it's changed, we think it's going to be the better approach. Obviously, we're going to introduce this to Public Works and get their buy-in next week, but that is our intent. So that's why we have not striped it.
Kirk, question on that. You
Yeah.
said perpendicular? Like,
Traditional,
oh, so parallel.
parallel,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You're
Yeah,
gonna make,
that-
you're
I
gonna
would
make
not
it
be
worse
good.
if you go
The
perpendicular.
lines are perpendicular.
Gotcha,
Sorry.
carry on.
It's perpendicularly parallel.
We'll move on. They're losing 3 spots. Mowing operations, we're actually quite good on that. Still trying to keep up with the dry weather. And the construction at the Veterans Highway 12 intersection is pretty much in full swing. Come Thursday, the 22nd, you're gonna see the detours put in place for East Veterans and also West Veterans now. So if you work at some of the larger facilities like the VA or that, definitely want to travel those. Give yourself a little bit extra time because we're going to be putting you down to Glendale, Arthur, those areas to come back around.
Is that gonna be a roundabout?
Absolutely not. I don't know where that rumor started in town. It's kind of funny. I had a individual call me. He had a bet with his wife, and he lost. So, but yeah, that
Sorry, Dean.
that is a very false rumor.
I know it's floating.
Sewer department, Tony Newcomb, we had more or less a retirement from an individual out there, and Tony Newcomb will be going out there next week. And we traditionally do a 30-day trial period to make sure that that individual wants to make that change, and vice versa, more or less the department to make sure they fit in and go through that process. So after that's done, we'll more than likely have a hiring again, opening in the street department that we'll try to fill.
Because Tony's an internal employee,
Correct, yeah, I'm sorry, he is at the street department.
lateral transfer within our system.
Correct.
Lateral. Sewer. Well done.
Perpendicular?
No, lateral. It's lateral.
All right, water department, I did want to make a comment, everything is normal as can be. We are updating our PFAS advisory as they come in on our website, so I encourage people to look at that. The latest sampling that we did was 145 samples. It was through the EPA. And there was 3 compounds that had minuscule amounts. So, knock on wood, we're doing very well. Those links will be updated as we get them on our website. So if you are one of those individuals that is really concerned about PFAS, it's kind of the hot topic in the water industry. It'll be out there for you to follow and see where we're at as a community for our water system. Lake Committee, we did get some new signboards erected in Winnebago Park and Butts. Jones Court. We are, still have one left to coordinate with Parks and Rec and where they want it located in Butts Park, so we're gonna work on that. A little bit, just kind of a fresh theme to those. We have individual pockets to change and refresh information. Right now we have a drawing of the lake path in the recreational trail within the city. We have some individual size limits for bass, northerns. We have appreciation to Tomah Warren Sportsman's Alliance. They did quite a few donations to us that we internally applied to the signage. We have blue-green algae information on there. We have a picture of the lake and tried to relay where there might be structure or depths, things like that for people that are fishing or boating out there. And I think aquatic hitchhikers is the other one. And is that it, Lamont? I think that covers it, so. If you have something that's, I guess, lake-related from a different committee or something along that lines, I believe we have a couple open spots, and we're looking to kind of keep that fresh and change that so people get to see that information out in the public. So I think that's all I had, except any questions?
What's the Gosling population looking like?
I believe I would turn to Lamont, if you wouldn't mind. You live on the lake and see more than I do. I really don't have a good handle on it, and I'm not sure if Lamont does or not.
I think the most total geese I've seen is 20.
Wow.
So that would be, I think it was 3 sets of adults and about 14 goslings. And I think the goslings have consolidated into about two broods. And so it's just minimal. Matter of fact, they were coming to the dike tonight when I was coming to the meeting. But they're adult, they all look like adults now. So our control program is working very well.
Thanks.
Is there anything from the weed commission that needs to be addressed?
Actually, I think I'm gonna take a boat ride maybe this week to see how the weeds are out or on the lake. But yeah, relatively low complaints, kind of the normal probably offenders. Those people that feel that there is a no mow may in place, which there is not. That's similar to the kind of the roundabout theory that we have that in Toma, but it's not the case. I understand those people that are, trying to promote that and do that, but that's not the way our ordinances are written at the time, so.
Also, a little follow-up on the goose. Our management program is a several-pronged approach, and I think some of you have noticed that some fox that are on the shorelines around in Butts Park, I think, and on the dam trail there. Director Protz, I think, purchased some through Parks and Rec.
Someone donate their time and make them for us, so.
Okay, they were donated, so you see them around. And we haven't went into any kind of fencing on our public lands, but there are some private property owners that are using a little one-strand fence to stop them from coming onto their property. They just don't seem to, the adults don't come through there, and therefore I guess the young don't follow them. Then the young could go right under the little fence, but the adults must not come. So we have a multi-pronged approach to controlling our goose population and that mess, public nuisance and public health problem that we had about 3 years ago. So it seems to be coming under control with several of the measures that we're using.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like the police.
Yeah,
Schedule, we're gonna.
Yeah, when I spoke to Chief Holm this morning, it was about 6 a.m. He'd been on duty since about 1 due to the incident that happened north of town. There will be more information coming out, I'm sure, but yeah, we talked this morning and said he probably wouldn't make it because there was still multi-levels of investigation that had to happen with that.
And I believe that.
And his report's in there, yeah.
The report's in the packet.
Yeah.
And the Chamber and Convention Visitors Bureau, I believe she's on vacation.
Yep.
So we'll skip that. So now we just go right into the general items. Number 9, allocation of the room tax for the new athletic field complex and ice center improvements.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and a second. Any further discussion?
I have just one question. Did we not talk about that in January, about the room tax? Or was it for something else? Is this?
We talked about it actually, I believe it was in last fall.
Yeah.
When we're getting the things going on the Ice Center addition and Flair Avenue, but with the bids coming back higher, you know, everything went up, so the Park and Rec Commission looked at our 4% room tax that allocated for the Parks and Rec Commission to divvy out to our projects. We brought that other 1% that currently is allocated for recreational park, for general upkeep, buildings, grounds, things like that, and put it towards these two projects. Leaves us still with 1% at recreational park, which we've had historically, and we feel currently you know, there's always projects, you know, we can go on and on, but these are two projects at the park board we really want to see through fruition here in the real near future, so that's why we want to allocate it to these projects, so.
Okay, thank you.
Question. In regards to the ice center, how much of a change in the proposal has there been made, if any?
Well, when we brought that back, Keller had a breakdown of if we divvied the project up into the locker rooms, alternate A for the dry ice training area, alternate B would be the storage unit. The 1.25 got us to the locker rooms, and that's before we sat down with them and, you know, things we might be able to do in-house, things like that. If you remember that bit, some of the project was doubled value, or doubled, and we got it down to that. So we feel real comfortable that that 1.25 will get us at least the locker rooms when we rebid it, and we'll go from there with the other either fundraisers or down the road in-kind donations to build the storage room. Hopefully it comes in, we can get it all done for what we have budgeted for that project, but this should get us to 2 locker rooms, which is what we need.
When are you going back out for bid?
Early November.
We just need, so, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item is budget transfer request by police department to apply insurance proceeds for fire suppression equipment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Richard, second by Nelly. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, number 11, budget amendment request by Public Works Department to apply refund to current year budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve from Sean, second by Mike. Any further discussion?
What was this refund from?
We got a large check, as you can see, and then it had a listing of invoices all the way back from 2020 that they were refunding us for. They do a funny thing where they issue credit memos that look exactly like an invoice. There's just one little word above the total that says credit memo instead of current charges. So over the years, they never informed us that we had a credit sitting out there, just sent us a big check. So getting it into Kirk's budget for this year since it occurred in prior years.
Kirk, you able to spend that?
Oh, yeah, I think we probably have already.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 12, approval of change to per diem meal policy in the city personnel manual.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have approval from Mike, second by Sean. Any discussion?
How does this personal watercraft fit into this ordinance as far as the number?
Oh, I think we're talking about
This
this.
is-
This is about
This
meals.
is the meals.
Meal per diem?
This is meal per diem.
Meal per diem.
Oh, my fault.
It's okay. So, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 13, amendment of ordinance section 30-80 and 30-83 regarding boat docks.
Motion to approve.
Second.
There's a motion to approve, and a second by Mike, and a second by Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Do you have it?
Did you have a question?
No, that was my question was, with kayaks, Should they even be counted against the dock? Because they're put in the water, take it out, you're not using the dock. Kayak is not tied to a dock.
What we're seeing are kayak launches, and we don't really know how to, I guess, permit those or include them in our permit process. Actually, the last one that came to the Lake Committee was a kayak launch, and it does resemble more of a dock than a, you know, some people traditionally would just from the lake level, you know, launch, but I think these launches are kind of help with stability in getting into the water, so we are seeing more of those, and they do take up real estate just as personal watercrafts or docks would.
So it was to lump them together with personal watercrafts and all those like kind, non-boat, full boat apparati, so that we could limit the number that each property can have, because, right, we started, when I moved down in 2016, there were just a couple of boat docks and a boat lift or two. And so we had an ordinance that said you can have one dock with an associated boat lift, and then some definition, some requirements on your dock, and that's where it ended. Well, now, we're seeing many more docks, many more boat lifts. Now we're starting to see personal watercraft landing pads where you fasten them to your dock or right next to your dock, and you just drive them, whoop, you slide them right up on, they stay in the water. So now, some people have two of those, and now, in the last year, we started seeing kayak launches, which is two rails down into the water, off from a little pad, or a flat spot that you have on your shoreline. So now, the potential would be to have, if, you know, all these common, a lift, a dock, two or three or four or five personal watercraft, depending on how many you have in your family, how many you want to put there, and a kayak launch or two, if you, and so we're trying to get control of this before it goes to that. So we had Inspector Roth dig into the ordinances around and state, and he's online, correct? Shane, would you like to speak on this for a minute?
I think you're muted,
We
Shane.
can't hear you? You're not muted, but we still can't hear you.
Still can't hear you.
No.
No. We can,
Okay, so we were just trying to control the number of units. So we figured out, we lumped the kayaks in with the personal watercraft. Now, the way. Okay, are we getting some sound here?
we might be hearing you now, Shane.
Houston, we have a problem.
Now you're gone again, now you're frozen.
Did we confuse you?
So that the total number of units would be 4, basically. A dock, a lift, and if you wanted to have a kayak and a personal watercraft, you could only have one personal watercraft and your kayak launch. So you can't just keep stacking these things and taking up the whole shoreline. It has to do with aesthetics. There really aren't many guidelines in the state, and we asked, you know, is there really a detriment to having more? I mean, is there any ecological problem with having a whole bunch of them? And no, it becomes more aesthetics and spacing. some of the properties on the lake are quite small, so you have to be careful that everybody doesn't start doing it, and now it just gets all jammed up, and now, and we start having problems with it. So we just took a look at this, and this is what Inspector Rolfe and came up with for wording, and the lake committee was in agreement, and property owners on the lake were in agreement. We have several on the committee, so this is what we're proposing to the council for the guidelines that we'd like to follow.
Thank you, Lamont. So we already have
very
the, so we should be good to go?
Yep.
The next item is resolution approval for CMAR.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Mike, second from Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We have a resolution authorizing the payment of the monthly bills.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion approved from Sean, second from Nellie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 16, award new public athletic field complex bid.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion approved from Mike, a second from Dean. Any discussion?
Do we need just a little presentation for public purposes?
I
think you
I think it,
Yeah.
huh? Because I think the construction aspect bid, the only bid we got was from Gerke's.
Just specify the alternates.
Yep, okay. So in your packet, there is the bid breakdown there's two bid packages that was sent out. One was for the construction of the ball fields, all the amenities that go with that, the dugouts, the backstops, the fence. We looked at it within our budget with the allocation room tax. The Parks and Rec Commission is looking to award that contract to Gerke's for the construction of one full-size baseball field that is lighted, that has a turf infield with wings and the dugouts and so forth. Then one ball field that will have an infield mix, infield similar to what Glendale was. It will have the fence, the dugouts, backstop. It will have lighting stubbed in, but not the poles, but for future lighting on that field. And then the third field will be just the backstop, an infield mix, and green in the outfield for future, if we find ways to find money for fencing. So it'll give us two fields, multi-use. The main field, our goal is to use that for, competitive high school, competitive legion, possibility of tournaments in the future, and so forth. They also have a recycled asphalt parking lot, a sidewalk to the area, a big concrete area for the second part of the bid, which was a concession stand and bathrooms. So that's what we're getting out of this project. A lot of the costs, you wonder why it's so high. The infrastructure's not there. It's a brand new complex. You're talking utilities, you're talking the juice to get these lights. One set of ball field lights is hundreds and hundreds of thousands. That's why we're doing one field to get things going. But by doing this project, it was open the door for that long-term goal of that project of other park amenities out there to coincide with this complex that we can hopefully do with local fundraising, local park impact fees, cell tower fees within the Parks and Rec Commission. But this will get us to start at a nice complex that we're hoping to be proud of, that we will be proud of, and other out-of-towners will hopefully use for competitive baseball and so forth, and have a nice area for our kids in the community and build it nice for the future. And then the second part of the bid is for the construction of the restroom concession stand in pavilions on each side of that. That's in your package. So very nice. And we got a really good bid from Americon for that, as you see in your bid package. So that's get things going, get the infrastructure, get it built. We have members from youth baseball here, high school baseball, Legion. They've been missing a nice field for a few years now, so it's really important to get this awarded and get moving with in the bid. The construction of the field, the majority of it will be completed by this winter, and then, the building and stuff in May for the concessions, but at least get going on the field so we could play ball hopefully this spring, so. And they've been doing a lot of work out there with their in-kind donation after we purchased that land from, Badger 5 and Gerke Excavating, and they're getting it ready to go, so when this is awarded, they can start really getting the fields prepared, so. Hopefully that's a summary of what we needed, or any other questions, or?
What kind of baseball, softball will be able to be played on the two fields that aren't the main complex? What quality will they be? What will they help us achieve? Or is that just for local practice or whatever? Will we be
The
able
second
to
field should be
do
able
any
to
kind
do
of tournament ball on those?
up to, you know, your varsity reserve, even some varsity games, but not your tournament play or your district or state, you know, tournament. But by allowing this, we'll have two beautiful fields in town. We'll have Sense at the high school district. In this one, we could host a state legion tournament or a high school or a big tournament on the weekend, because we'll have two full-size baseball. And Coach Brooklyn's here on a 300-foot fence, another one. I mean, you can get up to your varsity reserve on there, maybe even up.
Definitely.
So, but, I mean, they're practicing at Kramer, they're practicing at some 13, 14-year-olds at Buds, which is a softball field, so they're big enough to house, you know, ball.
So would the Little League lesser teams be able to use this baseball field for, could they set up tournament play and run multi
Oh, correct, yeah.
teams
With
and
the
brackets
turf
and
infield
things
is,
on this multi-field complex? Would it help us do lesser, non-high school, non-legion baseball, but Little League and, or whatever levels there are private, I'm not a big baseball
well, Joe
person,
Brisky, the
so-
president, told me youth baseball here, maybe he can answer, but I know they had a big tournament, a couple weeks ago, 10 teams or so. I mean, they're at LaGrange. Just opens up opportunity. LaGrange is more built for your, 10 and under.
Right.
We really don't have a complex for 14U, 13U, 12U. They're playing at Kramer and so forth, so it opens the door for a nice tournament for 14, 13U. They could do both the main field and the 300-foot fence. Correct me if I'm wrong, you could house a tournament there and also use one of the bigger fields at LaGrange, so they can expand from 10 teams to, 20, so forth.
Well, just for an informational, when Joe refers to tournament, he's referring to being ample size for high school WIA certified tournaments. Now, as you're referring to youth tournaments and exactly as you're talking, what was that, Joe? Was that a 9 under?
That was a 9-10.
9-10. But I talked to Bob Hendricks, and he said that, you know, they kept getting requests for more teams. You know, and when you start thinking about as we increase this, you know, through eventuality, we could end up with 3 fields there that could house all of those games. And now you get 6 ball diamonds within a mile and a half of each other to host a tournament, which is, I mean, that puts your...
That's what I'm asking, can we use
Yeah.
them and would we permit them to? and
Correct,
everything?
yeah,
I
just
mean,
work on the schedule and
because,
I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, Bob, but I think about like when Sparta does Butterfest, and they have 3 ball diamonds, and, you know, in softball, you're talking, they handle 32 teams on a weekend. Now, obviously, a 9-10 baseball game is gonna take a little bit longer, but with 6 fields, we might very well pull 32 teams into this area and start really generating a lot of traffic.
I hope so. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
that's my question.
Yeah.
Are we going to? Can we? Will the fields handle it? Are they of that quality? Are we gonna let them play on that field? Sometimes when you get nicer facilities, you have requirements on who can play on them, who can't play on them, and so is everything gonna be open and available?
we'll just work on scheduling and make it work. I mean, we did it with Glendale. We had Legion, high school, youth all rotating on one field at Glendale. This opens up to have 2 fields. You know, obviously,
And then
just
turn
have
it down the
scheduled
road.
different tournaments around there. And if it goes good, we can just, all we need to do is add fencing to field 3 and lights to field 2. You know, we'll have the infrastructure there. And a lot of this, we are drain tiling the fields, the outfields of field 1 and 2, so that, you know, the costs go up to get it to drain. So hopefully early spring, you know, and the goal also is schedule our local community, high school, Legion, youth. If there's openings, you know, we did hopefully attract some teams from northern areas to play on the weekends or whatnot for high school in the early spring when our field is ready and they might have snow still. It's
Yeah,
just that
that-
one being a turf field, so.
That actually happened this spring. I know, didn't they have some games down at Boston and stuff because other teams weren't able to play and because of their facilities? Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, so
it
we're
adds to-
designing it nice, that's why the price is, people ask, that's why the price is up there. I mean, we're doing
Hopefully.
tiling and everything, and
I'm sure it's
I
all
mean, we as a city,
usable
we're
and
committed to a nice
available.
complex, and then we work with the local groups that run the programs to make it work, and hopefully they can get the volunteers and staff to help host these tournaments as well, so. And a lot of it is for our local kids for practices too, so.
Sounds great, thanks, Joe.
Yep.
And we have to do a vote still, right? So all those.
I just wanna say one thing.
Sure.
I appreciate the city treasurer, she did a wonderful job with the room tax presentation that was in there and getting us all looking good for you to review it and get these projects moving forward. So she did a lot of help, the treasurer Paul, so thank you for that.
She, instead of thanks, she would prefer a Diet Dr. Pepper.
So I would appreciate if whoever made the motion, just to include contract 1 with alternate A, just so we have it on the record, and then contract 2, both for the low bids, would be the appropriate way to do
You
it.
made the vote. Should I, can you approve that?
Yeah, I would make the adjustment.
The second one, you say Dean? So we're both.
That's with the Gerke and All American bids.
Yep.
So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item, number 17, planning commission recommendation to amend outdoor facilities license ordinance.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, I had to go with a lower tech older school headphones and microphone just to get it to work here. I apologize for that. All right, so we have a plan commission recommendation to amend our current ordinance, and it's to relinquish the review and approval authority for the applications for outdoor facility licenses to the committee of the whole. And with that, we also have some recommendations on amending the ordinance to make it a little bit more clear and concise for applicants. Currently, the committee of the whole has the power and duties as listed in the staff report there under section 2-33 to review all applications to the city for licenses and permits. So originally, when we adopted the outdoor facility license, the plan commission was given the duty to review those applications. And at the time, it probably seemed appropriate, as the plan commission does do a lot of review of quasi-judicial matters, such as conditional use permits and things of that nature. And this is kind of getting back to just a review of all of our committees and our policies and procedures, making sure that the correct committees are reviewing applications. And in this particular case, the committee of the whole also reviews and approves all liquor license applications, bartender licenses, which all fall within the scope of the city clerk also. So she and I worked a little bit together on this, and that's why you see both of us on the staff report. So it's, first part of that is just simply taking the review from the plan commission and putting it back with the committee of the whole.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion approved from Travis, a second from Sean. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 18, annual renewal of Class A liquor license and Class A fermented malt beverage licenses, Class B liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage licenses, and Class C wine beverage licenses.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved from Mike, second from Sean. Any discussion?
Yeah, these have all been through the approval, verification, and you said this completes everyone now?
This would be the last of them. The one liquor license we have that's out there yet that has chosen not to renew, but they haven't relinquished is the lot. They will not be opening this year, is what I've been told. He's had some personal stuff going on, so he will not be opening this year.
And what license does he have?
That's just a Class B beer and malt beverage, not full liquor.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Clerk, by the way.
Item 19, Planning Commission recommendation to repeal Division 4 cabarets, first reading, second reading, and adoption.
Move to approve.
So we move to approve from Sean,
Second.
second from Mike. Any further discussion?
Is Shane gonna come on and,
I could talk to this a little bit too, either Shane or I. So, right now, our ordinance actually has cabarets in 2 different chapters. It has cabaret licenses in division, or chapter 4 and in chapter 6. And so, which means that under one section, it's included with the alcohol licensing. And in the other section, it's included, Shane, I don't know, what is, are you there with me?
Yeah,
All right, can you verbalize this a little bit better? Because that was
sure.
the big problem at first, was that it's in 2 different places, and it's actually saying 2 different things. So we're trying to clean things up.
Correct. So by repealing Chapter 4, Division 4 of the ordinance, which is tied to the liquor license, we're removing a redundant and contrary to Division 6 or Chapter 6 cabaret license language. So Chapter 4 really is redundant and it's actually confusing for applicants. So this measure here and then the next agenda item will help clarify that everything's going to fall under Chapter 6 and not be tied necessarily just to the liquor license. So it'll cover any outdoor music, live entertainment, any of those items all under one spot instead of having 2 different areas. And most of Chapter 4 actually references Chapter 6. So it's just removing a section that's completely unnecessary and redundant.
and just kind of making them stand on their own as entertainment, not tied to liquor necessarily.
Correct.
Okay.
Move to approve.
It's already.
We already have a motion to approve
Even better.
and a second, so
We have to try to jump.
do I have to waive the first?
Well, we
No,
won't
This
do
is
that.
it, that's just one time deal,
That's
that's
tomorrow.
tomorrow, okay. Well, I get the easy check. Okay. Okay, so any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And item number 20, Planning Commission recommendation to amend ordinance section chapter 6 categories.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from
And
Sean.
second, and then what, this just dovetails onto what we just talked about somehow?
Correct. We helped define cabarets and remove some of the definitions that tied it only to live entertainment and dancing and tied it to there being liquid refreshment or foods being sold. So this now will cover any of those live entertainment such as music, karaoke, and any other amplified sound to cover under the definition of karaoke. And we do define outdoor cabarets and special event outdoor cabarets also. And then if you see the marked up version of the current ordinance with the red font, if you look under section 10 for noise levels, that's something that's been added. And the one thing I would like to ask for, if you're doing a little bit more research, is to recommend that the residential noise decibel level be limited to 70 instead of 75. I think that if you do a little bit more research under the request of Travis Schulze on that, I think 70 would be the more appropriate decibel level.
So are we okay with,
Need to amend it.
are we okay, do you want to amend the motion
Yes.
and the second?
That'll be fine, down to 70.
So we amended it the first and the second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then the last thing is adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
So the motion from Vermont, second from Natalie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
There you go.
You to the council meeting. We would offer the opportunity for anyone desiring to appear before the council to do so at this time. And please step to the podium and state your name and address, and we will remind you that you do have a 3-minute time.
It's on.
Yeah, you're okay.
My name's Dave Deppery, and I live at 1201 Kilbourne Avenue. I've resided in downtown Toma starting in 2014. Have bars, businesses, and restaurants as neighbors. I knew and was fine with the level of noise that this would bring. We were hesitant when outdoor cabaret requirements and guidelines were being developed. We attended planning commission meetings at that time and voiced our concerns with the unknown added noise levels this would bring. The ordinances were passed, and up until last summer, we have had 1 or 2 instances where things were a bit over the top obnoxious. Businesses have always seemed to be willing to listen and work with any issues. Last summer, we saw a dramatic increase. We tried to approach the PD. We talked to the business owner. We went to city council meetings to find we had to go to planning commission meetings. We attended a lot of those, and that brings us back here today. Last summer was confusing for everyone involved. There needs to be a measurable way for people to voice concerns about outdoor cabarets moving forward, and I think the things on the agenda today are a decent start. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Okay. Anybody else desiring to appear before the council? If not, we will move on. The mayor's report. Obviously, we have the tractor pull in town. We have a lot of construction, road construction going on around the community. We want to thank all the members of the community for their patience. We encourage you to really dig deep into your patience level because traffic times are going to be interesting, to say the least. Please try to find alternate routes. And as I teach driving students, direct your anger at actions, not people. Don't lose your head when you're out driving and in a momentary issue, make poor decisions about what's happening on the road. And keep in mind, with this weekend that there are a lot of people that are going to be in town that aren't familiar with our roads, with the way we do things. It always comes to mind where Jackson meets Butts, the old top of the T there, where people go down Jackson and, everywhere they're from, the top of the T has the right of way and they stop. And so just keep in mind that you've got an awful lot of people in town this weekend that aren't familiar with our area. Everything out by the VA is going to be interesting for quite some time with all of the road work. And I also want to, Tim, I want to do a shout out and a thank you to you for the post that you did on Facebook regarding the new public safety building. Very, very professionally put together, very professionally done. Something that I've noticed lately, even with the incident that we had with the police department, in contact, I've got to actually reach out to Assistant Chief Pedersen, a very well put together press release, keeping people informed of where they need to be, but not more than what they're able to post. But again, so that people aren't alarmed and concerned, that they understand that it's an isolated incident, that we shouldn't be thinking that there's people wandering around doing these things. So anyway, it just reminds me of how well prepared we are as a community with all of our department heads and everything that they do. And as a council, we're very thankful for all of you and all of your professionalism. With that, I will move on to the senior executive team.
Good evening. Had quite a bit of activity this month. Economic development, kind of go through these items. We met with the CEO of Toma Health and discussed some joint strategic planning and are pursuing some initiatives from that discussion. We also had a meeting with WIDA, and from that we gained a little bit better insight on the grants, funding opportunities out there, and we did take the opportunity to update our website, and that attachment is provided as well. I did have some discussions with the VA. It did start out a little bit negative as far as the activities that go on at the soccer parking lot. We have some smoking activities there that create some trash. It's not necessarily directly all the VA employees, it's not just them, but they feel like the bulk of it may be from their facility, so they actually came through and picked up the butts that were there. They collected them, and then they do rounding throughout the facility, and they took them with them to show the people what is going on out there to try to curb that behavior. So it was a good, positive discussion with them. Also in your packet, trying to take that approach or that feedback that we got about introducing some topics here, and we'll see this topic. Totally, for the most part, you know exactly as much as I do from the information that's provided. A little bit of discussions we've had with the individual, but what we would like you to do is look through this information. It relates to our landfill Superfund site. We've reached out to our partners, including Penny, GHD, and International Paper for their comments. We have positive feedback so far. We're lacking feedback from International Paper, but they are on my list to get back and circle back with them and get that. So,
Can you give us a definition of brownfield?
it's like a contaminated site, basically, and it's kind of that, I don't know.
Underdeveloped, underutilized.
Yeah, I hear it all the time, but to give you a definition, I struggle with it right now, so.
It's a limited piece of property too. Like you can't do certain types of construction, you can't pierce the ground a certain distance. So it's hard for a business or a home or anything. It's kind of like something happened there and
It's a classification that has been given, what, by the state of Wisconsin or the federal government or?
EPA and state, you can use that.
Of certain types of sites, and there's a definition of what they are.
I just have one comment. I love the idea of doing something with the property, that type of thing. It's great, but this is a comment for Penn. We want to make sure that if anybody ever has a contract where they do anything to do with solar panels, that the city's never responsible for the disposal of the panels if they fail or if they're beyond their life expectancy. Because that's why, because disposal of panels is.
It's a big thing right now.
Yeah, it's really like, so a lot of times in California, they have like lease agreements. So you don't really own them, they go away when you're done.
And I believe that's the intent of this.
Good, yeah, just in case.
So, great questions. Please review this. Our intentions are to have the individual put this proposal together before you next month. And then you can grill them at that point. And this is I think a fairly long process. It's not gonna happen overnight by any means. There's very few in the state right now that this company has worked with. I believe they did just enter an agreement with Whitewater. But it definitely has some potential for an underutilized site, a little generation of revenue, and we'll see where that goes. Policies that we've reviewed, large events. We are again promoting the use of Hagen Sports Network. I was just on last week, or the week before, and just trying to get back in the swing of that. Vacations, whatnot, we lost a little focus there, so we're trying to get back on track. Library steps. I believe Shana told me that Keller had a meeting actually today, so I think we are getting to the point where hopefully we get at least a bid or a quote on this. It's really related at this point around historic buildings and those contractors that can perform that work, so we're working on it. As Penny discussed, union negotiations are starting. And training, we had a workshop for zoning board members, available for both Planning Commission and Board of Appeals. Treasurer and clerk were all week-long training at UWGB. That's coming up, correct? And starting to, the League of Municipalities has a roundtable training. We're trying to get either a rotation within set or one individual to attend that. And then also I attended the economic growth informational meeting put on by Monroe County. Lamont was there and Richard was there, along with 6 or 7 county board representatives. A lot of work to be done, some good conversations. We'll see where it goes, I guess. Still kind of in the infancy stages, I would say. They're gathering data and trying to get a direction. I believe a lot of it did focus around housing, similar initiatives that we're looking at from a city standpoint. And that was the one that really stuck out to me. I don't know if either of you want to offer some opinions on that, but to me, that was probably the big focus.
And also mental health, but it's such a problem because there are no providers available. A huge demand, everybody realizes it, school systems, our social workers in the county, but we had a position, someone filled it, and then they leave, and then there's no one there to fill. So I think that was another area that would like a lot more emphasis, but just can't get anywhere with it. But housing is going to be right down our wheelhouse, and I think there's some good things that are going to be coming out of that.
Any other questions for Seth? All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Keep us informed.
Thank you, Kurt. All right, we will move on to public safety. Yeah, what are you gonna do with all your free time now?
Going on vacation.
As he runs up to the podium.
The first time I will take 1 week off since I've been hired full-time. I am leaving next Wednesday night and I will be back the following Wednesday night.
Well done.
If that's fair.
Well deserved.
Have a great time.
We all need your private cell phone.
You have my written report. I will go over a few bullet points here this evening. First of all, we're at 36 firemen. I had firefighter Roy Gigas after 29 years of service. Roy moved from Platteville, got a job with at the time Mars or Dones, and then turned into Mars. He spent a number of years in the Platteville Fire Department, and then he joined us and he participated here and volunteered for 29 years. I thank Roy for a lot of things that he did for this department. He helped out in the inspection field out there, helping keep the businesses safe and up to code, and he also was our air operations guy, so he helped us fill our air bottles and ensure that the guys that went into structures, he was timing them and making sure that we had accountability on them, so very important position. So again, I thank Roy for the years of service that he gave us, and we're going to be honoring him at our year-end banquet later in the year. So as for the fire department, we're just finishing up the first round of our inspections here. We got to have done
recording in progress
at the end of June here, so we're working on that. Just obviously a very, very busy time for us right now. I just wanted to highlight that on May 20th, I did bring this up. I did attend a weekend rail incident safety thing. I just figured with all the incidences that are happening every day around the nation that it was probably time for me to get a little a refresher on it. It was an excellent course. I'm working on bringing that to Toma. I probably be a smaller version of it, but, again, a lot of great takeaways, just things that I knew but just needed to be refreshed on, and, I think it'll be a good deal, and I'll invite a lot of the intergovernmental relation businesses and agencies around to help us out with that. Just a little fact, I don't know if it's a fun fact or not, but in 1932, we had a freight train that derailed just west of the depot. 30 cars and 2 engines came off the tracks. 19 cars burned up with a large quantity of livestock and freight that were destroyed by fire, and the engineer was fatally injured in that wreck. So it was just over here, kind of off west of the Van Pack Union Camp area where their Exopacks are.
Do you remember that?
91 years ago. So, anyway, to keep moving on here, again, it's been brought up, the tractor pulls here this weekend, so we're ready for that. We got our team that will be out there. It's always a busy time, and you know, just for all of us wondering, you know, with the hotels full and all the people in town and a lot of traffic, so we are ready. Just a heads up, and Joe knows this, I took possession of the fireworks. They're in storage, so they'll be here for the 4th of July parade. Just to bring you up to speed here on something, I took this to the set team. Back in 1994, we purchased a pontoon boat. It was just a little after the flood of 1990. We had an old 1951 Alumacraft boat at that time, and we upgraded to a pontoon boat, which maybe worked for the time, but really wasn't what we needed. Public Works also used that boat to go out and put buoys out and things like that. We bought that thing back in 1994 for $2,500. We put it on Wisconsin surplus, sold it last week for $4,525. So we almost doubled our money after a great number of years. So we're going to work together with the Lake Committee, it sounds like, and then the funds that we recouped off that unit, and then fundraising, and we will find a suitable replacement for everybody that utilizes that out on the lake. So something we have in process. So other than that, we did have 34 calls in May, so we continue to be a little busy on the fire side. Emergency service building, so we're basically at the punch list phase right now. So touching up painting, caulking, just all the little detail stuff, loose ends. They'll continue to work on a few things over the next month. Our plan is, if you haven't heard, tomorrow morning about 10 o'clock, we're going to move the EMS department over. We'll get all the apparatus over. We've been hauling stuff over the last couple of days. About 1 o'clock, we will start funneling all the fire apparatus in, get our gear off our trucks, put it in the gear building room, and by 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, we should be completely moved in. We'll still have lingering things in the 3 buildings. My plan is to just make sure we'll go through all that stuff, get it disposed of one way or another, and I should have that all wrapped up by July 15th is my goal. So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at. There's a few little quirks with some of the things, like, so we had overhead paging in the system that was ordered from Baycom Motorola. That wasn't in the scope of the project, but I was able to cover it within the budget. That'll be here in September, but there's just a few little things that we got to get, that were additional things that is not going to keep us from operating and doing our normal day-to-day things. So just an overall project overview. The project has stayed under the $13,492,740.27. We're well below that yet. We're still continuing to work on little projects, trying to make the best end product that we are, and then when everything is done, probably sometime this fall, I will come back and give you guys a final report on where we're at and how that number looked. But I do guarantee you, and I do promise you, that we will not go over that budget that you guys voted on. So.
And you're getting a few extra things done, then, it sounds like.
So if you remember,
to get the product where you wanted it.
We did a bunch of valued engineering, and we saved a bunch of money on things, and through grant writing and a few other things, we knocked it out of the park. That's all I can say. I think the end result of this thing, for all the extra little things that we were able to do and then not have to come back and ask for money on things. I can't tell you how tickled pink I am that we are where we are. So with that said, I have multiple, and when I say multiple, I'm guessing in the 20s right now. I've been contacted by multiple municipalities and fire chiefs, not only in the state of Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Michigan. They're all coming to Tomah, Wisconsin to see this building. So they're all interested in coming out to see the facility that we got and learn what we did in the process that we did to make what we got. So
we'll be getting some big commissions from Keller in the future.
well, we'll talk about my retirement job down the road after a while, but that's not anywhere in the near future. So EMS staff, we're currently down with one full-time medic, Dylan Evenson. He was with us a very short time. He got hired here. He was our last hire. He just recently took a job. He knew where he wanted to go, but he didn't know if he was going to get in or not, so he wanted a job, so he applied with us. He got in, very qualified gentleman, ended up with the Eau Claire Fire Department, so he just transferred up here within the last couple of weeks. So we are hiring right now. Hopefully we'll get some applicants here shortly. So other than that, the last thing I got here is just a kind of a quick vehicle update on the ambulance service. Basically all our apparatus are functioning, except for our oldest unit. You might recall back a year ago or 18 months ago, our unit 269, which is our oldest ambulance in the fleet, it just every once in a while wants to shut off. Like you're driving down the road and it just shuts off.
I understand that feeling.
And you can pull over, yeah, I do too. You pull over, you put it back in park, it starts up and you take off. And we've had every local dealership look at it. We took it to a service dealership for Ford in La Crosse. They've had it for the last 2 weeks. They've been driving it, they've been tearing it apart, they've been looking at it. They cannot come up with any idea what's causing it. So it's gonna be coming back to Tomah. We're gonna put it back in our rotation. We're gonna try to get it going. Just a reminder that that unit is going in for a remount. So we use the same box. That's this fall. And we get a brand new chassis and it puts it on there and they basically revamp the whole thing. So that is the truck that's getting remounted. And then just kind of a reminder, this is also why we went to 5 ambulances in the first place. So when we have a problem with one like this, it doesn't impact us, because I can tell you over the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've had 4 ambulances out the door quite a bit. So all at the same time. And Fort McCoy here in town helping us.
So we're gonna have to keep it going that little bit at a time, because
So, right.
new
Yep.
chassis,
Yep.
also
Yep.
the power chain.
Nothing more frustrating than for the staff though, you know, when you're doing a transfer and it's like, is the thing gonna die on you going to Rochester or La Crosse or Green Bay or Madison or whatever? So we try to keep that as our in-town truck, just to ensure that it doesn't happen, so. Other than that, a very busy month for the EMS service. We ran 295 calls, up about 25 calls from the same month last year, so. Anybody have any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Molly's trying to upstage you.
Never happened. Never.
Good evening, Miss Irma with the library.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, everybody else. In May, we checked out 1,917 ebooks, and some of you might ask, what are ebooks? I'll just tell you. So you can go online. We have the ability to find books online, so you could just get a book online. So some people prefer that. Anywho, 1,917. We had physical checkouts of 5,026, giving us a total 6,943 items checked out from the library. I have really good news, and I'm going to follow up on it a little bit later, but you still can sign up for the summer reading program, so yay! The children's department, as of today, we had 91 people signed up from age 0 to 5. So 0 would be 1 month or 2 weeks, actually, 1 week, however old. So between birth and 5, we have 91 signups. Between age 6 to 11, 220. Between 12 and 18, 46. We still have story time going on, continuing during the summer for summer story time on Mondays at 2 o'clock and 6:30 p.m., Tuesdays at 10. This week, we'll be starting story time for both the Boys and Girls Club and the Ho-Chunk Study Center. We have board games Tuesdays at 5:30 and Legos on Wednesdays at 5:30. The summer reading program, again, the good news, you can still sign up for the adult department as well as the children's department summer reading program. And for those of you who have not made it to the library, I actually have a sign-up sheet. I'll have them here after the program. All of you who haven't signed up, you can sign up, fill it out. There's some challenges here. If you'd like, you can bring it back next month and I'll turn it in for you. How easy can that be? And in fact, you can even go online and get books online. We have new books at the library as always. One book is 8 Rules of Love, how to find it, how to keep it, and how to let it go. We also have the legal guide for starting and running a small business. And after that, you might need the Encyclopedia of Everyday Law, answers to your most frequently asked legal questions. Yeah. This Sunday at 2 o'clock, we are showing John Wick 4. Now that is a movie for grown-ups. So that is there. It is free. We have the movie is free. We have popcorn. Check out our website at the tomapubliclibrary.org to find out what events, or you can also look at our new sign, which is the best sign in Toma. Future or historical, this is the best sign in Toma. No way will any sign ever be better. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for me? Okay, I have the forms. Okay, I'll see you afterwards. Maybe I'll just give them.
Thank you, Miss.
Yeah, you know what? Just take one and pass it on. He didn't take one. He didn't take one. I see. He didn't take one.
Yeah, Greg.
Sorry.
Follow directions, Greg. All right, we'll move on to the senior center. Good evening, Pamela.
Good evening, everyone.
Please try not to be as confrontational as the previous
Oh, okay.
presenter.
You have my report in the packet. In May, we had 1,898 attendance compared to last year, 1,426. Our volunteer was 247 compared to last year's 128. So I like those numbers. Special events. This month our basket weaving class is on June 26th. And I do, unlike the last months, which were full with a waiting list, I do have some openings this month. So if you're interested, it's from 10:30 to 4 on the Monday, June 26th, and it's $12 for the supplies. They've graduated from just a regular basket to one with a handle or something, so the supplies are more than what the last ones were. So give me a call or contact me if you're interested in signing up. Sunday Fun Day events in the summer are in Butts Lake Park, the inclusive park. And we had one in June, and of course it was cold. And one of my people wore mittens with the finger, you know, where you didn't have to have the fingers covered, but mittens and earmuffs in June. It was on June 11th. And, but NASA did show up and they did give us boat rides. And we usually have, NASA is so good about coming every month and giving us boat rides. And we usually have games and snacks, outdoor games and snacks. And Sunday Fun Day is for special needs people and their families. Life after school, just during the summer, it's called Life During the Summer. And they moved the time up a little. And today they just started their summer session. And so it was good to see the kids back this afternoon. Adaptive Fitness for All class starts on the 29th of June. And so we're excited about this. It graduated from a pilot program to now we're going to start it as a regular program. So that's on the docks. Exciting news about the buildings is the Morgan Stanley building was rented out, and they are in. Their signs are up in front, and they are in, and very excited about that. Fundraising coming up is Crazy Days lunch fundraiser. Any of you want to help? We are looking for grillers for that Saturday.
The date?
First Saturday in August is Crazy Days. And everybody else plan to come on down and have lunch at the Senior Center on Crazy Days. Yeah, I hear comments under the breath.
No, it was about the
Friday.
5th, August
Friday.
5th. She was absolutely right. It is August 5th.
Saturday, August.
That's what I said.
And for educational opportunities in May, I virtually attended National Council on Aging's 6th Annual Older Adult Mental Health Awareness Day Symposium. And the keynote speaker was Montel Williams, and topics were the Brain Donor Project, supporting caregivers providing care to someone with mental illness, voices of older adults with lived experience with mental health and substance abuse, social cohesion and intergenerational connections to address social isolation. That social isolation is, since COVID, is a really big social thing, not only in the community here locally, but at state and federal levels. The link between chronic pain and mental health in older adults and current state of behavioral health integration in primary care. On June 13th, I was able to virtually attend it was a webinar, and it was Teepa Snow, and if any of you, I was introduced to Teepa Snow as an expert in dementia things way back when I worked at the care center. And so any opportunity I have to listen to her, I really jumped for that. And so she had a webinar on communication techniques and tips for interacting with those with dementia. And that was she is just well known worldwide for that. And so that was a good one.
Do you have many people coming into the senior center that have dementia?
Yeah. A number of people that have beginning dementia, that they're still out and about and things, hide it, but you pick up on it.
Yeah.
But refreshingly, I've had several come into my office and say to me, sit down and say to me, I have beginning dementia. I'm still being active, I'm still doing everything I can. I want to volunteer, but don't put me where this and this, like dealing with cash or numbers, or don't assign me to those things, but I can do this and this. And so I have a mixture of different levels and different, some are very concerning to us at this point, and some are getting along just fine. At the meal site, we also have a number of people that come, which I'm so glad they're coming there for the
Correct.
meals. Yeah. Not to say all of it, not to scare away people to say it's all that.
No, but
There is a population. And on that note, not in my notes here, but it's just occurred to me between yesterday and today that I have had, I'm not saying leaps and bounds or a lot, but I have had more homeless people coming in to the senior center asking for resources and asking for things. Like I said, it's not great numbers, but when I look, I've been there 5 years, and I've not had a lot in the past, and just recently I've had a handful of people come in, different times, different days, not together, but so to me that's an indication that there's something going on out there that we're not quite aware of. And in the newsletter that I do, like the back 5 pages of it is resources. So I'm able to give them that or talk to them about those resources and go from there. But I can't give people handouts of money or vouchers or those kinds of things. So, any questions?
I do. Morgan Stanley business, the building.
Yes.
So there's a business in there?
Yeah.
What kind of business is it?
Jensen Tax and Accounting.
Okay.
Yeah, not far different. What was in there, but yeah.
Thank you.
Any bites on the Phillips Pharmacy building?
I always have bites on it. They just never follow up afterwards. Yes, I just toured somebody last week. I wanted to say this week, but we're only on Tuesday, so it was last week. Very enthused. They're always enthused when they come and look at it. And then I always hear, I have to go back and talk to my partner, I have to go back and talk to my husband, I have to go back and talk to my wife, I have to go make a business plan. And then I always direct them to talk to Shane when they start asking building questions and what they can and can't do with the building. And I don't hear that they followed up with him, even though they say they will. So, yeah.
Thank you, Pamela.
And the square foot price is just unbelievably low, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I
50
think
cents.
if I did the math right, and I always question my own math, but it's $1,500 a month for about 3,000 square feet, and that's not counting the basement, which is wonderful storage down there. So when you divide that, I think I came up with 50 cents
50 cents a square.
a square foot, and so that's a phenomenal price, I think, for right downtown Toma. So.
And what would be a more standard square foot price?
I don't know that I have, I guess I can't answer that question off the top of my head.
Does someone know?
Probably about double that.
$1?
Probably about that.
Okay.
Between bucket. It all depends on what
Okay.
industry you're in.
Okay.
And the department heads, 2 department meetings ago, were brainstorming on what we could do to make it more appealing. And we're not talking about changing the rent, but the building itself and stuff. So that is being talked about. And the last department head meeting, I talked with Kurt beforehand about some things that maybe Public Works can help with. So we'll see what happens.
Brick and mortar's tough.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Any other
Pamela.
questions?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the consented, planning and building inspection. Sorry, Shane.
That's all right. Good evening, everyone. So you've got a copy of the May building permit report. As you can see, we issued 42 building permits. Permit fees collected over that month was a little over 10,000. at a estimated project value of just under 1.2 million for May. And then you'll see also Casey's provided a copy of her May code enforcement report. You'll see she's got a handful of grass complaints that she's responded to. Otherwise, mostly it's a lot of large items out on the boulevards placed inappropriately during the wrong time of the month. So she follows up on those. And next month, I'll provide a 6-month comparison to last year also, along with just the regular June building permit report. I've got a couple projects I can give you guys updates on. McDonald's, I'll be doing a final inspection next Wednesday, the 28th. I believe they're intending to be up and open that same weekend, I believe. And last week, they started footings on the newest 51-unit apartment building on Larkin Street. And I've got some emails, correspondence from a contractor out of Illinois that they're going to be constructing within an existing building a Domino's. I believe they're looking at the Ace Hardware Mall, one of those tenant spaces.
Perfect. Any questions for Shane?
Question, Shane. Have you heard anything about a property down on Carroll K Street that Mr. Pluger owns?
What street was that, Sean?
Carroll K?
Oh, any follow-up on that since we last spoke? No.
Okay. Is there any way of being able to get that cleaned up?
At this point, the onus would be on the park to go through whatever court proceedings they need to take title of that manufactured home, and then they'd be able to. And I believe that's what their intent on that would be, Sean.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Shane? All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion for the approval of minutes from May 16th, 2023, approval of minutes from June 6th, 2023, annual renewal of Class A liquor and Class A fermented malt beverage licenses, Class B liquor and Class B fermented malt beverage licenses, and Class C wine beverage licenses, and the May 31st, 2023 cash and investment schedule.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Sean, second from Nellie. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion regarding the allocation of room tax for new athletic field complex and ice center improvements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, who had the approval, Dean had the motion?
For which one?
This one, the athletic.
Athletic field, I mean.
You made the motion and second by Dean? Yeah, okay. So, the percentages, I don't have that in front of me.
175 for the baseball, 125 for the hockey.
So 1.75 for,
Yeah.
so we want to clarify
For the
that.
minutes, I have 1% recreation park, yearly improvements, 1.75 for Flair Avenue Ball Field Park Complex, and 1.25 for Toma Ice Center improvements. Does that sound correct?
That's what I read.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion regarding the award to new public athletic field complex bids, the preparation and construction of the ball fields to Gerke Excavating, and the construction of the concession stand to All-American Do It Center.
Move to approve.
Second.
Wasn't there a schedule, in Schedule 1 or something?
Alternate A.
Alternate A.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So, with alternate, were you the motion?
Yes.
I second.
Travis is the motion and Sean is the second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on. Budget transfer request, entertain a motion for the budget transfer request by Police Department to apply insurance proceeds for fire suppression equipment.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Richard, second by Nellie. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion regarding the budget amendment request by Public Works Department to apply refund to current year budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Sean and a second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution authorizing the payment of monthly bills. I would entertain a motion.
Motion to pay the monthly bills.
Second.
Motion by Lamont, seconded by Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Entertain a motion, first reading of the amendment of ordinance section 30-80 and 30-83 regarding boat docks. Or waive the first reading, sorry.
Move to waive the first verbatim reading of both acts.
Second.
We have a motion by Lamont and a second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain.
And we will be notifying all the landowners on the lake
Thank you.
that this has changed.
That has changed. Thank you.
So it's not changing yet, because we didn't adopt it.
Yeah, when it happens. Yeah, when it's fine.
Entertain a motion for the approval of changed per diem meal policy in city personnel manual.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Sean, a second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to waive the first verbatim reading for the Plan Commission recommendation to amend ordinance section 6, section chapter 6 of cabarets.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion by John and a second by Lamont to waive the first reading. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to waive the second verbatim reading of the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend ordinance section chapter 6 cabarets.
Move to waive.
Second.
We have a motion by John and a second by Lamont. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion for the adoption of the Plan Commission recommendation to amend ordinance section chapter 6 cabarets.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Do we have to, is this the one that had the decimal on it, or was different?
No, this,
That's the next one. Just in case.
actually, this,
Point
this
seven five down to 70.
is the.
So you would amend it so that to the 70 decibels
Yeah.
from the 75, okay?
Yeah.
And I believe, Richard, were you the
It was
second?
Kiefer and Schulze.
Or was it Kiefer and Schulze, okay.
Yes.
Good man. All right, any discussion? All the,
With the amendment of the max decibel level.
of 70.
Residential.
And the rest of
Level of 70 in the residential area. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I would entertain a motion for to waive the first verbatim reading of the Plan Commission's recommendation to repeal Division 4 cabarets.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Richard and a second by Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion regarding the waiving of the second verbatim reading of the Planning Commission recommendation to repeal Division 4 cabarets.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Sean and a second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion for the adoption of the Planning Commission's recommendation to repeal Division 4 cabarets.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion by Lamont and a second by Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion for the Planning Commission recommendation to amend outdoor facility license ordinance.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Richard and a second by Sean. Am I going to-
Are you waiving
Yeah,
the
there
first
is
verbatim reading, or are you?
should be first, second, third.
Oh,
First-
it
first,
wasn't
second
on here.
adoption,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
You're into the second by,
Sean,
As to waive the
to waive the first verbatim reading. Okay, I would entertain a motion to waive the second verbatim read. Huh? Oh, yeah, sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to waive the second verbatim reading of the Planning Commission recommendation to amend outdoor facility license ordinance.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Sean, second by Nellie. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Probably helpful to read last names instead of first names.
Yeah, exactly. But that's, I figured that.
All right. Entertain a motion for the adoption of the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend outdoor facility license ordinance.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Motion by Kiefer, second by Zabinski. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion for the resolution to approve, for the approval of CMAR.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Schulze. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Joanne Klinker, good Lord, Mike, to the Lake Committee to fulfill the remaining term of Hal Burnham ending in April of 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Zabinski, seconded by Schulze. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Peterson, second by Pater. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
It is super easy when you take